Good morning, everybody. I'm Dan Garodnick, Chair of the City Planning Commission and Director of the Department of City Planning. Welcome to today's public meeting of October 18, 2023. We have a very short agenda in front of us today, but it is no less important despite its brevity. Today, we'll hold a public hearing on 541 to 545 Bay Street in Stapleton, Staten Island. This proposal is looking to create over 80 homes, around 25 of them income restricted through MIH, mandatory inclusionary housing. The site would be incorporated into the Bay Street Corridor Special District, which was adopted by the City Council in 2019. Of course, as we have discussed frequently here, transit-oriented development is key to the future success and health of our city. And this property is across the street from the Stapleton Staten Island Railway Station and near the Stapleton Waterfront Esplanade. So, with that by way of introduction, Madam Secretary, I'm going to turn it over to you for the official start of our meeting.
Good morning. This is a City Planning Commission public meeting held remotely through the NYC Engage portal and in person in the CPC Hearing Room, 120 Broadway, Lower Concourse. Today is Wednesday, October 18th, 2023. I will now call the roll. Chair Garodnick.
Here.
Vice Chair Knuckles. Commissioner Benjamin.
Present.
Commissioner Bozarg.
Here.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Here.
Commissioner Crowell. Present. Commissioner Duick, I believe we have on Zoom.
Present.
Commissioner Gold, I believe we have on Zoom as well.
Yes, here.
Commissioner Goodrich. Commissioner Kermani.
Here.
Commissioner Marin.
Here.
Commissioner Osorio. Will be absent. Commissioner Ramprashad is on Zoom.
Here. Here.
A quorum is present. The first item is the approval of the minutes of a special public meeting of Monday, October 2nd, 2023.
Great. On the moment, I'm sorry. It's not enough coffee today. All right. On the minutes, make a motion to approve the minutes of October 2nd, 2023. Seconded by Commissioner Cerullo. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Okay, minutes are approved. Thank you.
Scheduling, calendar numbers 1 through 5. We have resolutions for adoption scheduling Wednesday, November 1st, 2023, for a public hearing to be held in person in the CPC Hearing Room, 120 Broadway, and remotely through the NYC Engage portal.
Great. On the resolutions, I make a motion to approve the resolutions. It's been seconded by Commissioner Marin. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Resolution is adopted.
The next part of the calendar is the public hearing section on page 6.
Great. We have the first item. Madam Secretary, let's just go right on into it.
Borough Staten Island, calendar numbers 6 and 7, 541, 545 Bay Street, CD1, calendar number 6, C220426 ZMR, calendar number 7, N220392 ZRR. In the matter of applications for zoning map and zoning text amendments concerning 541, 545 Bay Street.
Great. And on behalf of the applicant team, we have Eric Palatnik here in the room and Robert Palermo on Zoom. And with that, Mr. Palatnik, welcome. And whenever you are ready, you may go ahead and get started.
Just scream.
Okay. Well, that comes naturally to me, unfortunately. Good morning. Eric Palatnik for the applicant, and I'd like to thank all of you for being here today and for your service. And I'd like to congratulate Commissioner Cerullo. I believe I saw an honor that I read about, that you were honored for your work at the Grand Central Partnership recently. So I want to congratulate you on that. I know you've been at it for a long time, so I know that. I'm quite committed. We're here today for an exciting project on Staten Island, and I'll start clicking through it. But while I do, I want to just give you the basic overview. It's a C42 district now, just outside of the special Bay Street Corridor District. Because of that, the Bay Street not being in the Bay Street Corridor District, it doesn't get the advantage of the C42 bulk across the entire zoning lot, which is 200 feet deep. It would have to stop halfway and be cut in 2 FARs. That would reduce the building, which would result in a building that would create 54 apartments as of right with no affordable housing. The concept of this application is to extend the special Bay Street corridor to include this property and rezone it to an R6 from the C42 with a C overlay. What that would do would be enable the property to, with the Bay Street corridor district, enable the FAR to be shared across the entire property. It would give us a building that has, I'll give you the square footages in a moment, but it would result in 81 units, 25 of which would be affordable. That is the premise of the application. That's in front of you, and I just wanted to lay that out so you can understand what we're doing and why we're here. Obviously, you can see here what the building's all about. It's an 8-story building, as I just described. It's located in flood zone AE, up to 11 feet. You can't have anything other than other than cars or commercial, which is what we have. And then it rises above that with residential. This is the property's location. I think you could pretty much readily see it fits and blends in and fits like a glove, like Marissa Tomei said, and my cousin Vinny. It blends. It blends well. I think if you'll see the community board recommendation, you'll see that the community board voted overwhelmingly in support of it, and for one good reason. Bay Street needs new development. It needs people coming in. It needs people spending money. It needs activation on the street, and that's, I think, what you'll see in the support for the application. The building right here is a 2-story building right now, the subject building. It'll be an alteration application that they'll be doing. They could build right on top of it, but the important part of that is we're chopping off the first 20 feet of the building so as to align with the Bay Street corridor, which I know many of you had questions about with the public improvements and whatnot. So we will be within the Bay Street public improvement realm, and there'll be benches and seating and some trees, street trees out front, much like you see next door, and we'll align right next door. I'm trying to hit on some of the salient points that you raised while I'm going through this. This is the rezoning I just described. You can easily see it just extends the Bay Street corridor and creates an R6 where it's now C42, and it puts the C overlay over it, just like everybody else, C23. This shows you everything I've just been talking about. This shows you everything I've just been talking about. This shows you the location of the, not the floodplain, I'll show that in a second, but the elevation of the building, the existing commercial that I just spoke about that we're maintaining as an alteration. This shows you, again, Marissa Tomei line, taller buildings all around us, or tall buildings all around us. Again, same thing here. Close to the railway, we couldn't be any closer. I know there were some questions about that. We are not connecting. We pitched it to the MTA. We're not close enough, and it doesn't work, but we're a stone's throw away, and we're pretty close. This was, I could keep going for a few more minutes.
Let us,
you could ask
I want you to go ahead and finish. You did it real quick. So why don't you finish the thing? You're the only item on our agenda today, so we can actually be a little bit more flexible here, but we want to hear the rest.
I'll be quick. This was raised by the community board, just so you know. They just wanted to see parking in the area. And what this is showing you is most of the parking lots are not filled up in the area. They have a concern about cars. They're car-centric. We are providing off-street parking, but obviously there's always a want for more. Good luck to all of you on getting no parking approved from the entire city of New York. This is the stackers that we are proposing for the parking. This was a big discussion at the community board. Staten Island does not usually have stackers, so we talked about this for a while. They finally were okay with it, understanding that we have to provide the parking. I'll click now to the AMI. The AMI, we are requesting to be at 115, at option 4. I know that is a discussion point within the city of New York. I am asking for it for a good reason, which is what I spoke about before, and I think you'll find this if you get out on the street in Staten Island, specifically at the community board. They are trying to attract people to come and spend money in the stores. They're trying to create stores. They're trying to create a streetscape. They're not against providing lower levels of affordable housing. And they believe, if I can paraphrase for the comments I've heard, that they've done a good job of their fair share on Bay Street. What Bay Street has not seen, unfortunately, is the influx of what other parts of the waterfront, like you see in Jersey City or in Williamsburg, have come across, and that's why we're asking for this. And I can understand if it's something that people want to talk about. And that actually concludes my presentation, unless you want to see the flood slide. So I'd be happy to stop there. And
great. Let's
the flood slide.
Well, I think you're probably going to get a question about that, so we'll hold it for a sec. Okay. Let me just start by asking. I mean, this is one block. It's a one-block addition for all intents and purposes of the Bay Street corridor plan.
Correct.
Was it contemplated? Why was it not included in the first go-around?
I don't know the exact answer. I believe you could ask the borough office, but I believe all the leadership has since changed. It was simply it was very controversial at the time when it came out. There was a lot of discussion, and people probably just drew the line where they drew the line. I don't think there was a marked, I didn't hear, and I think that's evidenced by the community board's recommendation. I would have heard a lot of griping, that, hey, we drew the line there for a reason, and now you're coming messing up. I didn't hear any of that.
Got it. Commissioner Marin.
Thank you. Eric, good morning.
Good morning.
I don't see any family-sized units here. I know we discussed that earlier on. I was wondering if there was any consideration made for those.
Right now, you're correct. The unit distribution, the way it lays out is actually, of the 81 units, there's only one 3-bedroom unit. That was a marketing decision that was made because of the discussion I just made. The area is not attracting families right now. You're not finding families that are eager to move into the Bay Street corridor right now. What you are finding are guys like Pete Davidson, single people that are looking for an active life and want to be close. What we're trying to create here is an opportunity to get that core, which is what's filling up on the waterfront on the island. I'm sure if any of you have been to those apartments, you know the average age in those apartments, for the most part, is probably 30, 35, 40, 25. They're just starting families. So we believe that the 1 and 2 bedrooms that we are providing will give those families the chance to get going, get a leapfrog, and hopefully there'll be another building that'll come along after us that'll have 3 and 4 bedrooms, and people will be able to move within the neighborhood. But you don't even have, if you drive down Bay Street right now, I don't think you'll count one stroller on Bay Street from the start of the Verrazano Bridge until you get into downtown, or at least I have not seen any. And I think that's why we're not asking for family-sized units.
And then my second question would be related to the parking. What efforts are being made to sort of screen those parking lifts, if you will?
There'll be a fence. Obviously, we can only go to 8 feet on the fence, but that was a conversation that came up with the community board. We're probably at a good picture here. You're sort of at the butt end of a block here. I can't move the slides, but when you get a chance to review things, you'll see that Dan Street is really it's a dead-end street. It's got brick manufacturing buildings around it on pretty much all sides other than ours, and it's got the railroad abutment on the other side. So although we are sticking up, and this was a discussion, that's why I made the comments before about the community board commenting on it as well, but it's the only way to provide the required parking, and everybody was comfortable with it after. We showed them a parking operator that we're going to be working with, and we gave them information on other parking lots, and they all seemed very comfortable with it after that.
I would still opine that they should be screened, because we don't know what's going to happen on the other side of the rail track. At a certain point, there's going to be some activity going back and forth from that area eventually. All that area has been rezoned north of that, so north of that.
We'll be happy to screen it. I'll talk to the architect and see how tall he can.
And I have been to the Bay Street corridor. I used to work in Staten Island, so I am familiar with the egregious conditions along the.
Yeah, since COVID, it really it took a different turn than I think everybody there wants to see, and I say that with just confidence in the room, because I have spent a lot of time with a lot of people on the island, and I think there's a very large consensus on that thought that Bay Street could do much better than it's doing right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Cerullo, then Commissioner Osorio.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Eric. So, just a couple of questions, but just a couple of thoughts. I mean, I think you're just on the thought side. You're definitely correct that the area there are definitely families that live in this area and have for many, many years, but it definitely, this is not yet the area where families are settling, and that's exactly what all of the work that's going on in this area is hopefully going to change, both for singles and families, and whatever combination of residents we could build here. There is a really great interest on the part of the business community to see that happen. And then, of course, the housing issues, which we all know and agree with. It's really important, particularly on the North Shore, because of the transit options that exist, which are really unprecedented for the rest of the borough. Although still not as many as other communities have, but we have the system does work there. I will say this, though, on the unit breakdown and the idea of linking multiple bedrooms only to families as if we're talking about parents and children. There are other opportunities for families, whatever they call themselves, to live in the same residence with bedrooms. It could be an adult with an adult older parent. It could be a series of a combination of, a single mom with a daughter and a mother, where multiple bedroom units could also be a part of the fabric of the neighborhood. So I just say that because while there is no, outward objection to what's being presented, I think we could be thinking that way because it isn't just about raising your children in the neighborhood. It could be about retirement, which, of course, Staten Island is trying not to lose its seniors, which is its fastest growing population, with really no place to go. And so I just throw that out there for a thought and contemplation as we move through this process.
I appreciate the comments, and I'm looking at the unit count, and I'll talk to the architect about maybe raising up the number of 2 bedrooms because there are only 16. Maybe get those up to a more substantial number, and maybe add just a few more 3 bedrooms. And I do appreciate what you're saying, what I've heard over and over again for the edification of everybody else in the room. When people leave Staten Island, they go south. They go to New Jersey or they go to Florida.
Correct.
There's nowhere on the island for a family that aged out of their home to go to. And I hear that repeatedly.
And near transit, which is also important, too, for seniors, to have that. And if the shopping grows as the housing grows, then there will be that sort of town center feel that people could walk and do their shopping literally in the same, on the same corridor as where they live, which is, for me is very old fashioned. I could remember, my family in Brooklyn living that way. But once we got to Staten Island, you were always in your car. This is a neighborhood where, while cars will always be a part of people's lives in the borough because of how you need to get around, not just in your own neighborhood, but the reality is it could be a very important amenity experience and quality of life experience for people.
Your whole board there, and I think community in that specific area is in alignment on that thought. You are echoing a very common tone that I've heard consistently.
And I was not a participant or heard the discussion, but I get my neighborhood, so I get the community. The one thing I will ask on one subject, could you describe the commercial? What's happening on
I'm glad you asked. There's a grocery store there, and it's staying.
The one that's there now?
Yeah, the guy that's there now is staying.
Same ownership?
Same guy. He's staying.
So there's going to be a new space?
We're rebuilding the space for him. He's
in the
taking it back.
10,000 square?
Yeah, he's just taking the same space right back, after we rebuild it. So he's staying.
And what happens to him in the process?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, got it.
I'm sure they'll figure something out, hopefully.
That's great. Okay.
Hopefully.
He's a pretty huge
He's
staple
well liked,
in the
and I
neighborhood.
think everybody likes him. Yes, that's what I've heard about him.
Okay, terrific. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Osorio, followed by Commissioner Gold on Zoom.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
And thanks so much for addressing our questions on flooding. It sounds like you have a couple of slides that you wanted to share with us, and I would love to see them. In addition to inundation, coastal inundation, given the location of the project, regarding the New York date and so forth, I was wondering if you can also share the extent to which you've considered storm surge, wave action, wind impacts in this part.
I cannot speak to storm surge and wind impacts, but I could have that communicated to you after the hearing. I can't move the slideshow for some reason, but if I could, I would take you to page 19.
Let's see if we can get that up. Slide 19 is what we're looking for?
Yes.
Okay, give us a sec.
It's like my home remote. I point it, I bang it. Then I yell at my kids that they took the batteries out.
Just ask them to do it for you, Eric.
Yes,
They can do it.
The 12-year-old is the best at everything. All right, so page 19, I see somebody scrolling. Thank you. Should have what you need. 19. Few more. Okay, there you go. So that's got clearly laid out for you that the design flood elevation of 13 feet, and the rest of it will be wet flood proofed. And I'll get you the answers to your questions about wind and storm damage and how he's designing it with breakaway. How it could break away. I don't think this area during Sandy took on water. I'm not sure if this part did. Fred may know, but we'll get that information back to you.
And specifically, what happens with the ground retail if in the case of an inundation? I mean, you're elevating the residential, but I'm wondering, what's the plan to withstand potential inundation to the commercial?
That's the plan, is that they take the brunt of it. They will have to, take the damage and rebuild after that. The idea, though, is to protect. I think the idea behind the regulations are to protect the homes. Seeing as how it's a supermarket, I'm pretty sure it'll be cleared out if there's a storm coming. So I don't think they'll have to worry about emptying out any inventory. If it's, unfortunately, not to laugh, if a storm should come, but it would be damaged.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Gold?
Thank you. Eric, speak a little bit more, if you can, on the target audience here. And in that context, the MIH thinking. I know you mentioned you're going for option 4. Is the developer targeting local residents, or is this more thought to be an alternative, let's say, to Manhattan for folks who are commuting? And just if you can give us more context on that MIH choice.
Well, the goal of it is to be local. There's a tremendous population of young persons, that, on the island, who don't have anywhere to live. And this is what this is trying to create. It's trying to give an opportunity for people of that age bracket. It's also trying, we've heard, and we've done market studies and spoken to Equity Valuation, who's a very well-known, Commissioner Cirillo will know that firm, Equity Valuation, very well-known. And they've confirmed what everybody's saying, which is it's the older population, it's the homeowners that are in their 70s, that are looking, or 60s, that are looking to empty out of their homes. And it's the young people that are leaving their parents' homes. And it's also, I would add, an inundation of people, young people from Brooklyn, who are coming primarily from the Sheepshead Bay area, which is a result, I think, of the immigration wave that came in the 90s over there. And they are migrating there, too, and they're primarily young persons as well. So the rationale behind the MIH that everybody has spoken to, and the reason why you don't see any objections to it in the committee board recommendation, is everybody believes that we'll get the demographics of income that will allow for the shops to sustain themselves on the ground floor and create the environment that Commissioner Cirillo just said. And I think that's where the hemorrhaging is right now in the community right now, is the ability for it to sustain itself. So that's the rationale behind it, and that's the target audience. And I can understand you asking the question, because it is different than other applications.
No, as I say, I definitely get it. I grew up out there, and I actually office not too far at the Homeport, not the Homeport, Edgewater. So I know the area pretty well, and you're right, it can definitely use some help. Also pleased to hear that the commercial space will be a food store, because that was my next question. So it's important, and it's super important to the area. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bozorg?
Hey, do you know what the market rents in the area are going for right now, and how that relates to the MIH option?
I could find out. I don't know the exact. We have that information, and I'll get it back to you. I'm going to go out on a limb here and tell you it's not going to be much different from what you see in the MIH that you have here. It's not commanding tremendous rents over there. Right. It's one of the most cost-effective places to rent in New York City right now. You can get quite a bargain.
Yeah. I guess I'll just note also that part of the goal of MIH is to create some income diversity. So the idea that you're just going for kind of local attraction, not just income diversity, but also to create opportunities for people across the city to apply for. So just want to note that there are some it's also important, especially if the rents are the same as what the market rents are, creating some income diversity through the stabilized or the regulated units, I think could also be a worthwhile goal. So I hear what you're saying, but there's the idea that it's just trying to attract the local is also somewhat, these will go through.
I can understand.
It has to be marketed citywide.
And I understand that, and it will be marketed citywide, and it will abide by all those requirements. And I can understand your perspective, and I appreciate the dialogue. Once again, there is a lot of income diversity in the community, and that's what I've heard back from everybody consistently, is that there is that diversity that you're trying to achieve. The problem is there's nothing on the other end, and that's the seesaw right now. So the seesaw is tipped very well in one direction. Now, I'm not suggesting that hopefully in 4 or 5 years that'll change, and that's what everybody's hoping. So this building is not necessarily going to be the template on that discussion, but it is hopefully everybody's using it as a kickstart, maybe to keep the businesses and attract some businesses. But you make good sense, and it's logical, and it applies to other situations.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Palatnik. Seeing no further questions for you, we appreciate your time this morning. I will note that there are no members of the public signed up to speak on this application for 541, 545 Bay Street, calendar numbers 6 and 7. So we'll close the hearing on this item. Madam Secretary, is there any other business before the commission today?
No, Chair Gorodnick, there is no other business before the commission, but I do have some public information to share. I'll just note for the meeting roll call, we were joined by Vice Chair Knuckles, Commissioner Goodridge in Zoom, and Commissioner Osorio. Also, for those of you who are unable to or did not wish to testify, you can submit written testimony online by selecting this hearing on the upcoming meetings page of the NYC Engage portal, through DCP's website, or by mailing your comments to City Planning Commission Calendar Information Office, 120 Broadway, 31st floor, New York, 10271.
Great. Thank you, Madam Secretary. And with that, thanks to all of you for your time this morning. It was a quick one, but we'll look forward to picking this back up in a couple of weeks. With that, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
The time is 10:29 a.m.
Sarah?
One of them, one of the shorter. I don't know the